Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Non-League Podcast. Before we get into it, all of us associated with the Non-League Podcast want to send our condolences to the family, friends, and of course AFC Fylde after the passing of Luke Bennett at the age of 17. We dedicate today's episode to his memory. Rest in peace, Luke. All our thoughts and prayers are with you. Now, today's been a big week in non-league with big decisions, big games in the title race, and also what would have been the relegation zone. So let's start off with Tuesday's game. So I'll get started because Woking played Bournemouth on Tuesday, and we drew 0-0, which was, I'd say they'd be the happy with the result because we were the better team by a mile, in my opinion. Created not many clear-cut chances, but enough chances to win the game. We did really well to isolate the threat of Kabongo Shamanga, Tyrone Marsh up front, limit them to literally nothing. And I think it just goes to show the improvement we're making ahead of a big FA Trophy game. But yeah, obviously it's disappointing when you don't win a home game, especially when you've dominated. So who else wants to give their thoughts on Tuesday's games?
Yeah, I can.
Go on then.
Yeah, so firstly, just want to echo Will's words at the start. Very sad to hear the news of that young lad from Fylde passing. The fact he's only 17 makes it even sadder because that is literally no age to be passing away. And my thoughts are with Fylde, his family and friends. Anyway, moving on. We played against Wealdstone on Tuesday, or Wealdstone as East would normally prefer me to say. And lost 3-1, even though we could have won, really. We just needed to finish, which is becoming a big issue for them because we're playing good football, but we can't finish. It was good to see Simeon Jackson and Jack Hickman make their debuts, even though Hickman was off injured after about 20 minutes. And obviously, good to see the return of Alfie Payne. Um, yeah, if we finished, we could have won that. Wilston, three great goals on the counter, and then Cairo Mitchell making it 3-1 in the 87th minute, I believe. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on that game.
So I'd like to introduce Ben to the podcast, who is a Stockport fan. And now the main reason we got him on was to talk about their situation at Stockport, which looked quite bleak. But on Tuesday night, they actually surprised everyone and got a pretty mental result, a 5-0 against Solihull. So take it away, Ben.
Cheers, Will. It's been a bit of a weird one this season because obviously we were doing well, and then they made the decision to sack the manager based on culture, which I personally think was a bit of an excuse to bring their own men in. And when obviously we were about fourth when he got sacked, and then Simon came in, Simon Rusk, and then I think that everyone expected us to just blast the league. But a new manager coming in, he had an all right start, 10 games, 3 wins. I think it's 3 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses in his first 9 games, and then obviously the win on Tuesday, which was probably our best performance other than Woking, which Woking was unbelievable. But I think we don't put away our chances a lot. But that changed at Solihull, and obviously they had the early red card, which was from a Solihull mistake where they playing out from the back. They did it a few times. They just kept messing up, and then we capitalised with with the penalty, and then John Rooney scored a banger from the edge of the box, and then it was just relentless from there with Tom Walker scoring a header and young Jack Stretford scoring, who we got on loan from Derby. It was just a dominant performance from minute one. To be honest, you could see Solihull just not being the best of sides, which I thought they were better than what we saw on Tuesday. Obviously, the red card didn't help, but I just didn't think they were very good. I thought we just outclassed them.
Thanks for that. So Kel Hartlepool played away at Alty. So if you want to give us your thoughts on that.
Well, we knew going into the game that it was going to be a hard game because of the fact that it's away on a Tuesday night and away form hasn't really been the best recently. And we started off all right. We dominated possession. Luke Montague played on the wing, instead of being up front, and he just kept on from minute one, charging down that right wing, taking on their fullback, keep on going one way and then the other. And it all changed when Lewis Cass went in for a flying challenge, which, to be fair, was high. It could be debatable for a red card, but in my opinion, I've seen the challenge and it wasn't really the best challenge. So, red card, and that really changed the game for us. We did take the lead a couple minutes later with a good move. Luke Molyneux again charging down the line. It looked like he was going inside, but he cut outside, played it across the Reece Swords with a tap in. But then, right before half time, shot from outside the box by one of their players, and Benker, the keeper, should really be saving it straight on. He will know that he should save that, but he has got us so many points this season, so we can't really fault him for a mistake. Like, for example, he saved the penalty against the draw at home. But for the second half, it was backs against the walls for us, which, because of the fact we had 10 men, they dominated possession, and we deserved the draw. Draw was a fair result in the end because we dominated the first half, they dominated the second half. So yeah, it was a good point in the road. Kind of 2 points dropped, but when you have 10 men for about 3/4 of the game, you'll take a point in the other week. So yeah.
So moving on to probably the team to watch at the moment, Sutton United, who beat Yeovil 2-1 at home, which was a good result for them. It was another win, a win of champions, if you like, winning 2-1 late on with Harry Beautyman scoring the winner. And you have to say now it looks like Sutton are sort of making a charge for promotion, a bit like Barrow did last season. But does anyone think that they can be stopped? I mean, who can stop them really is the question I'm asking.
Well, they're a good side. From what I've seen of them lately, they look like they're never going to get stopped. And honestly, they need to just, if Hartlepool, or I don't even know what I'm going to say this because I've got no chance, but Torquay want to have the slightest of chances, Sutton just need to find a dip in form, which I cannot see happening anywhere. They're going to win the league, which will be a tough one because obviously they'll have to tear up their 4G pitch or whatever it is, 3G pitch, for the move into EFL next season. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the situation there.
So another big game on Tuesday night was Notts County versus Halifax Town. So in that one, Halifax took the 3 points with goals from Jake Hyde and Tyrone Campbell. Halifax, by the sounds of it, completely dominated the game. There were a lot of Notts fans agitated by the performance. They were very angry with how they set up at home behind the ball, sort of letting Halifax attack. And the question here is Neil Ardley the right man for Notts? I know we seem to ask this every week, but is Neil Ardley the right man for the job? Go on then, Kelt.
But what it sounds like from Notts fans is that he is the very defensive manager. He likes to sit back, control possession, but not really go forward. But with the attacking quality that Notts County do actually have, they are far too defensive, in my opinion, especially when they played us. They just really didn't really have an attacking threat for the first half of the game. And it was until we went 1-0 up, I think they have to go 1-0 down. Then I realised, we may actually have to attack here and get back into the game. But you can't wait to go 1-0 down every game to try and get back into the game by attacking more. So I think he will be sacked in the next couple of weeks if performances don't pick up. I know they got a result against, I think it was Wellstone on Saturday, but they're still not happy with the performance. It was only a 1-0 win, which by the sounds of the Notts fans, again, even though it was a 1-0 win, they want them 2-3 goals and they want them to destroy teams and play them off the park instead of just sitting back and defending. So, yeah.
Ben?
Well, I think like with the quality that Notts have got with like Elisha Sam, Ruben Rodriguez, like that's some attacking threat, and I feel like they should be doing a lot better than they are. Like everyone expects them to like completely dominate the league, but for example, when we've played them the 2 times under Gannon, we they sort of just two defensive sides coming together, and they came away with 2-1-0 wins. But when we played them under Ruck, they didn't seem to have many attacks, and then we attacked them a lot more, and we probably should have won, but we got the disallowed goal. Which wasn't actually offside, but I do feel like they should be doing a lot better, and I reckon he probably will get sacked either quite soon, or probably at the end of the season.
Dan?
Yeah, Notts haven't impressed me the 2 times we played them this season. Obviously, 1-0 loss at home and then drew 2-2 with them at Meadow Lane or Meadow Park. I can never remember which one it is. But yeah, it just 5 at the back against a team like Woolston. What are they doing? Why would you put 5 at the back against a team that you should be beating 3 or 4 or 5-0 every day of the week? I think next time not to lose, Ardley's got to go. Simple as that.
Josh, welcome back to the podcast.
Cheers. Yeah, I definitely think they're underachieving massively this season, and Ardley is under a lot of pressure. I mean, to be fair to him, Cal Roberts is obviously a brilliant player at this level. He's missed quite a bit of action, so that may have cost him. But regardless, they've still got bags of talent, like Ben said, with Ruben Rodriguez and Eli Sam. So definitely should be doing a lot better. And I think his tenure is slowly coming to an end, and it could be sooner rather than later that we see his sacking.
Okay, so moving on to Saturday's games, and of course I'll start with Woking because what a better place to start than Hewish Park, where Yeovil had won their last 6 home games. So going into this, I knew that any sort of result was going to be a good result, and I was impressed with how we played despite ending up in defeat. We pressed well. We sort of created chances. We had a lot of set pieces. I think something like 13 corners or something ridiculous like that. But the one problem with Woking this season is we haven't had a consistent number 9 who's going to score goals. And we had one last season, Jake Hyde, and since he's moved on, the goals have dried up a bit. And I mean, Max Kretschmar is now our top scorer with 6 goals, and that's just not good enough if you want to be progressing as a team up the table. But Yeovil, to their credit, do have a very good number 9. Scored 2 quality goals. One of them a brilliant finish into the top corner. The other one a brilliant flick, which Craig Ross had no chance for either of them. And that was Yeovil's, pretty much only Yeovil's 2 chances. And that's what you need at this level. A good home record, a solid fortress, which is what Yeovil have got. And it is no wonder to see them flying up the table now, because they've got a very solid team. And I'm pretty sure if they'd started the season with that team, I have no doubt they would have finished in the top 7. So Dan, Kings Lynn played against, if I'm not mistaken, Sutton United. So if you want to talk about that one.
Yeah, so the Lynn played against Sutton. Yeah, game I wasn't expecting much in, but looking in hindsight, I would have taken a point. We created our chances in the first and the second half to a point where Simeon Jackson had a ball cleared off the line even for us. But yeah, Donovan Wilson scored a pretty decent goal. I wouldn't say against a run of play, but certainly in a very even portion of the game where he just slipped it past Archie Mayer. Nothing Archie could do about it, and we lost 1-0. But to be going out against a team like Sutton with a with a 50% furloughed squad, having only 3 people on the bench, and one of them being our 50-year-old assistant manager, Paul Bastock, I think I would say honestly that's a bloody good result for Lynn, and we go again against Hartlepool and Torquay United.
also, Kel, Hartlepool played at home to Eastleigh, and it was quite a controversial game. I didn't think Dave Chandler was too impressed with the refereeing.
Yeah, and he has the right to have a go at the referee for this game because of the fact that the red card in question, which completely changed the game, wasn't a red card. It was a second avoidable offence, which he didn't touch him. Like, we've seen a number of replays, and the players just went down and bought the foul, which the referee, you could have an argument that maybe he couldn't see it right, but he was right in front of the ball. He's right in front of the players, so he should be able to see that and just, if anything, book the other player for diving. But nah, Timmy Undersuda gets his second yellow card, gets sent off. We have to change our shape completely, and then just like on Tuesday, it completely changed the game because of the fact that now we're sitting back because of the fact that they have the man advantage and they're going to use that to create more space and have more possession. But right at the death, we almost won it with a resource counter attack, which he should be shooting from. He was about 12, 13 yards away. He should be shooting in that direction. He tried to pass it. We almost scored, it hit off the defender's leg, deflected, and almost went. It was a good save by the EC goalkeeper. But it was another point. It was another good shift by the lads. We're now unbeaten at 9 at home now. 8 wins, 1 draw, which is a phenomenal record at home. So yeah, it was a decent performance with the circumstances, and yeah, we'll just see how we do on Tuesday.
And I think that sort of goes to show the luck you need to win the league is what Sutton are getting. If we sort of go into the other games, Torquay missed a penalty against Bournemouth, and Notts County snuck a 1-0 past Wealdstone, which shows that only a few sides at the moment, only a few sides won at the top of the table yesterday. Of course, Stockport's game was postponed, so it just sort of goes to show luck is shifting Sutton's way. And will it? It just goes to show, will Sutton start to falter after they lose a game? In terms of other results, though, if any of you want to talk about other results, then just get started. Go on, Josh.
Yeah, I'll just talk about the Bournemouth Torquay game. I think Bournemouth were very unfortunate not to come away with the win, if I'm being honest. I mean, yes, like you said, Torquay missed that penalty. Great save by Ashmore in the net for Bournemouth. Second half of that, I think Bournemouth were much the better side. Hit the bar and hit the post. Corey Whiteley and Shamanga up front were causing Torquay a lot of problems. Shamanga definitely should be playing higher. I mean, yeah, he had that spell at Stephen. It just didn't quite work out for him, but he definitely deserves a second shot at the Football League. So, Torquay again, their form is slipping again, and I think it was a 12-point gap. I think they had at the start of the year or something. That's obviously now just completely diminished. And yeah, Sutton definitely the team to beat at the moment. And I can't see them slipping away anytime soon. I'll pass on to Dan.
Yeah, so one game I had a little bit of an eye on yesterday was Bromley 2, Barnet 2. Bit of a shock this one, because when I saw the Bromley won the up in the 8th minute through Liam Trotter, I was just expecting Bromley to run away 5-6-0 here. But Barnet brought it back with Courtney Baker-Richardson after a red card and a penalty. And then in the 61st minute, Michael Cheek scored for Bromley, making it 2-1. Just for 2 minutes later, for Michael Petrasso to go down and score in the 63rd minute to make it 2-2. Game ended with James Dunn getting sent off in the 81st minute. So both teams finished with 10 men. Bromley had 10 men for best part of 77 minutes. So, yeah, I think that's a very good result for Barnet, and Bromley could possibly be a bit embarrassed about that.
So I have a bit of an apology to make to Chesterfield fans, because last week, as you know, I was sort of saying, they could get top 3, they're in great form. And then they went and lost 2-0 to Maidenhead, who were in very poor form. It just goes to show in this league that you can be on whatever form you like, and anyone is beatable on their day. But a great result for Maidenhead. And every season they seem to do this thing where they start off like a train and then falter and then finish mid-table, lower mid-table. But this season they just seem to be hanging on in there, just seem to be hoping for a playoff place. And then in terms of other results, Wrexham, another win against Weymouth. Josh, do you want to explain more?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. So, yeah, obviously it's a big win for Weymouth, and ever since the Hollywood takeover has been confirmed, they just seem to have been on the up ever since. They're up to 4th now, which really puts them in the hunt for playoffs. And yeah, massive win. Like I said, massive win for them. I believe it was, Ponticelli scored as well as Theo Vassell. As for Weymouth, I mean, relegation, we'll get on to, but relegation is now pretty much not going to happen with them in the league. So they haven't got any fears. They're just playing for a pride, really. All their games are dead robbers. But yeah, massive win for Wrexham. Like I said, really putting them in the hunt for a playoff place.
Yeah, as you said, Wrexham just seem to be moving on. And it just goes to show a bit of investment, a couple of good signings like Dior Angus and Tyler French. And they're keeping clean sheets, they're scoring goals. And, I mean, they're on great form. I think they've got 19 points from 10 games, which is, considering Dean Keats was pretty much being headhunted recently. It just goes to show that an upturn in form, and now they're 4th. And, I mean, in the playoffs, you'd back them on their form. You would back them. In terms of other results, though, we've got a good win for Halifax at home to Solihull, and Halifax, another one joining the playoff pack. And then another one joining the playoff pack is Aldershot, which I hate to say. I absolutely hate to say it, but they're up there now. That's 3 straight wins in a row. And Altrincham sort of fading away. I know this is going to come back to bite me because we play them on Tuesday, but I'm interested to know, who do we think is going to sneak into the playoffs?
I'll start. I believe that I'm hoping that Maidenhead get in the playoffs, because some strange reason I've always liked Maidenhead, because they're like a little club, and the club that when they came up to our place, when there was fans allowed, the fans were very nice, very polite, and yeah, they're like I respect their fans, and I really hope they get in the playoffs because
Yes, but
I think the playoffs. I think the one who sneak into the playoffs will be Chesterfield, just based on the games that they have in hand and the quality that they have up top with Asante. I think it'll be Chesterfield, Notts County, Wrexham, Torquay, Hartlepool, and then Sutton will go on to win the league.
yes, Josh.
I'm going to go with Halifax. It may be a bit of an outside shot, but they've really picked up recently, and obviously it all came, seems like, from that massive win at Torquay a few weeks ago, and they seem to be on the up ever since. I think Pete Wild has done a really good job there. I think it goes underappreciated a little bit, but they've done brilliant up front. Obviously, they've got former working player like Jake Hyde, who's been prolific for them and ever present. But yeah, I think if they can keep up the form that they've got and keep up the goal scoring, then I can really definitely see them sneaking into that playoff place and possibly even getting above the likes of Notts.
I have to back you up on that, Josh. I think Jake Hyde in his day is probably one of the best in this league when it comes to finishing. And in terms of if Halifax can keep him fit, I think they will make the top 7, simply because the rest of the team, they have a very good midfield. And they've coped well since the loss of Luke Summerfield, who I think won Player of the Month a couple of months ago. And in terms of teams like Bromley and stuff, I just think they're dropping too many points. Now, moving on to the big decision of the week. The Step 2 Mini League did not get through. Now, Josh, I'm going to start with you because you are a fan of a club in Step 2, as we all know. And obviously, we know that you did not want this to happen.
Yeah, and reading the more in-depth details of it that came out today from Molly Bayliss, I think it's definitely making a lot of sense as to why it was rejected. And so, yeah, basically, what this proposal it had. So clubs playing each other once, which is fair, with 2 promotions, an automatic, and then a playoff place. No relegation from step 1 from the National League. And then you get clubs starting with their PPG average multiplied by 15, and then all clubs starting with at least 20 points and 0 goal difference. I mean, when you're reading that, it just makes you glad that it just seems ludicrous, the whole idea, and it makes you just glad that the whole thing was basically kiboshed by the FA. Obviously, some people, Mark White in particular, haven't taken it well. Dartford as well, I know, are a bit upset with it. So, but then that was always going to happen. You're always going to upset a few with the decision, particularly those 2 who are headhunting at the top of the National South. I think the Gloucester chairman, though, was fairly respectable, and he fairly seemed to accept the result of the vote, if you can call it that. But yeah, overall, I think it's pretty much a good thing that the whole thing's been called off, because it just seemed ludicrous.
Well, before I move on to Dan, I'm just going to say I've got in front of me a tweet from the Concord Rangers chairman, Ant Smith, and what he said is that the clubs quickly realised that they were not in agreement on the way forward, and therefore he felt they had no chance. And also, clubs should not be calling out individual clubs that have their own circumstances, some that might struggle to get through, and also because of the variation of budget in the league, that it was never going to happen. So it just seems like the whole thing went a bit all for themselves. So, Dan, thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, obviously, first off, I'm glad it got cancelled because of Kings Lynn's safety. That was my original thought. But with what
That's your that's your priority, Kings Lynn's safety.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
at least
when the town stays up, I don't know.
yeah, you packed no
but
punches with that one for sure.
But yeah, seriously though, what I saw Bayliss tweet today saying about no relegation from step 1, we would have been safe anyway. So, but the thing is, I'm glad it didn't happen because it's so unfair on teams like Leamington who can't afford to continue. Then you've got Welling, who finished bottom of the National South, going in for it. What's the point there? Because you're just going to embarrass yourself. It was a stupid idea from the onset. It was a stupid. I understand they want to remunerate the clubs in the league because of Dover seemingly looking like it will get booted out, and obviously Macclesfield went bust at the start of the season. They want to remunerate the league, but they can't do it with a crappy mini league idea. Just finish the step 1 season, go again next year. And it's better off for the clubs because if they start losing money, they'll start crying at the end of the season because they can't afford to continue. Simple as go back to Will.
But yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well in that. But I just wanted to say, I watched Mark White's interview yesterday, and I know he's come in for a fair bit of stick, but he actually made some very good points by saying that the league never put forward the chance to continue the season because of the null and void vote. Because once null and void was voted, that was it. There was no other alternative. And it just goes to show, did the National League do everything they could to help step 2 in any way, so that if this situation did happen and clubs wanted to say, hang on a minute, we can opt out of the league, we can keep going, rather than just saying, okay, let's pack it in because a few clubs can't afford it. Like, it comes up with an argument. Was it about equality, or was it about the safety of some National League clubs like Barnet? Go on then, Dan.
I just think the National League board are the most incompetent people since God knows who. They couldn't fix up these grants that they promised us at the start of the season. They promised us that the season across all 3 leagues would be finished the day before the season kicked off. They're absolutely ridiculous for making these stupid promises which they cannot keep. So part of me wants to hold the board fault for all this. But obviously, it would contradict my earlier point of I'm glad the mini league isn't happening. So I feel like I can't.
But yeah, what I have to say is that I feel there was a conflict of interest in terms of between, okay, so some clubs thought, Barnet, for example, thought, okay, we can eliminate relegation. We can basically make this season like null and void for us as well. And they took that opportunity. Anyway, Ben, what's your thoughts on the situation?
To be fair to the National League Board, the government did promise that fans would return just before the season started and then quickly changed their mind because of the rising infection rates. And I think that's probably why they did promise that the season would be completed. And then obviously they changed it from grants to loans, which screwed everybody over. So I don't really think they had much choice.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a total farce from the government, from the National League, pretty much from everyone. And let's be honest, at the start of the season, everyone was a bit sceptical about whether it would finish. And now we're in the situation where the National League looks likely to finish, which is a positive, but then North and South don't, which is a complete negative. And then you're going to get the same teams next season who've avoided relegation, who can then rebuild their squad. And you never know, Barnet might finish in the playoffs next season, and that'd just be ridiculous. So moving on to our next topic, which is we're past the halfway stage of the season now. So in terms of rating the season for each of our teams, does anyone want to start on how they felt their season's gone so far?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. First ever season in the National League in both guys as a club. In the old club, which went bust 10 years ago, made it as far as Conference North, Blue Square Bet North as it was known back then. So yeah, this is our first ever season in the Vanarama National League itself. And yeah, we're a part-time team who at the start of the season could have played better, but now we've got players on furlough, we've got players injured for a 13, 14-man squad. I think it's been a very good season despite losing 5-6-0 consistently at the start of the season. We've beaten teams like Port Vale in the Cup, which, yes, it's the FA Cup. It's only Port Vale, but that's quite big for the town of Lytton as well as the club itself. So we'll give ourselves that one. But yeah, I think if I had to rate it honestly, I'd probably give it a C. A C or a 6 out of 10, whichever way you want to rate it. Obviously, massive news with bringing in Simeon Jackson, bringing back Alfie Payne and this Jack Hickman lad from Bolton. So I've heard a couple bad things about, but I haven't personally seen anything. So I'm gonna have to give it a miss until I see anything. But yeah, I'm gonna pass you over to Ben now, and I'm gonna shut up.
Well, I think expectations at County have never been higher because we've never really had any expectations because we've always had like quite a reasonably small budget. But Gannon obviously carried us over the line in the north and got us into the situation we're in now he's come in with his money, so expectations have never been higher. And we went into the league season signing some quality players like Jordan Williams, Ryan Crosdale, John Rooney, and to be fair, we all County fans expected a league title, but it hasn't really gone to plan. We were beating like teams lower down in the table, but we couldn't. I think about 15 games in, we'd played quite a few of the top five, and we hadn't beat any of them, which was quite poor. And obviously, and then everyone was like, a lot of people called for Gannon's head, but when he went, it was a bit of a weird one because he'd done so well. But I'd probably rate our season probably a 7 because I feel really ungrateful saying that it's been a bad season because in any other how I wouldn't ever have expected us to be fifth we're halfway through the season anyway. And I think everything's looking up now. Obviously, we've got potential signings coming in from League One, which if that comes off, it could be promising. And we just have to see how the season ends. I think we'll probably finish between second and fourth, I reckon.
Yeah, Kel, obviously, Hartlepool have had probably one of the best seasons out of the non-league podcast squad, if you like. But yeah, if you'd like to elaborate on that.
This has been the best season of my lifetime being a Hartlepool fan by far. This season has been incredible. because of the fact that it's the first season that Dave Chandler has built the squad. He's put the formation into place that he wanted, and we thought at the start of the season, top 10 finish, and we're good because of the fact that I think we finished 11th after points per game last season. We just thought, let's just make an improvement. At the start of the season, we won 3 games in a row. We were top of the league, and a couple of our fans did get a bit carried away. Then we dropped off in form, went down as low as 14th. And then it all changed when, for one, the formation changed from a 3-back to a 5-back with wing backs, going down the wings and crossing the ball into a goal scorer like Luke Armstrong, who came in, who has almost single-handedly transformed our season, because we have never really had a goal scorer in the past 5-10 years since Billy Painter retired. And now we are looking like a team who, except from when Sutton's ran away with it, kind of, we were looking like we could be in a title challenge, which I believe we still are. But of course, Sutton's got game in hands and all that. But this season has been a solid 9 out of 10. The only thing that I could try and pick negative out of this season is the fact that we make so many chances, but we don't really finish them off, and also the fact that we always do really well against the big teams, like the big games, but smaller teams, I think we underestimate a couple of them, and we sometimes lose out 1-0 against teams which, to be honest, in the form that we're in, we should be beaten. But this season has been absolutely incredible, and I'm loving every minute of it. So yeah, solid 9 out of 10.
Well, in terms of Woking season, I mean, it's been hectic is one way to describe it. Another way to describe it is we're sort of planning for the future now. We have a goal of next season. We're going to try and get up the league. But I feel like we're in a similar position to where Hartlepool were before they got Luke Armstrong. We lack a goal scorer. And in terms of scoring goals and winning games, we haven't won many games by more than a goal. In fact, we haven't won many games at all in recent times, but the FA Trophy run has been extremely pleasing. And I have to say, if we were to go on to win the FA Trophy, it would be like a 7 out of 10. At the moment, it's like a 6, because it's what I sort of expected. I'm in terms of being realistic, I was expecting a sort of season where we go and fight relegation battle, so it's been slightly better than that. And the future looks exciting, which is the best thing. It's the first time really we've had a plan where this summer we're not going to get rid of our best players, and that's really pleasing. So Josh, obviously Hampton's season cut short early, but if you just want to give us a few words on that.
Yeah, because I think overall it's been a brilliant season. Obviously it's a shame how it's ended, but decisions had to be made. But overall, I think we can be very pleased with how we've done. Obviously, finished 6th, which was a playoff place, but obviously that's not happening. It's improvement on last season, just about when we finished just outside on PPG, and it's definitely an improvement. We've done much better. Our away form has been formidable, one of the best in the league. And obviously, we lost Ebbsfleet, which was the last game we played before the decision was made. But apart from that, the performances were great. Nicky Muir was great for us, who's obviously now joined Will's boys Woking, who are here. He's been telling me he's been impressive. And yeah, I'm happy for him. He's been brilliant. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of our players get moves up. Jake Gray, who is probably one of the best midfielders in the league, he definitely should be playing at National League level at least, because he's an incredible player. I wouldn't be surprised if he joined a Woking type side as well, because Gary's obviously working with Woking. That's a mouthful. With Dallas at Woking, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some more of our players join up at Woking. But like I said, happy season overall. Good building. Good to build on from the previous season. I'll give it 7 out of 10 overall. Good season.
So I'm moving on, and I'm not going to preview Woking's game first of all, because there is a big crunch match in the group chat. There is Kings Lynn Town versus Hartlepool United. Now on paper, this game seems like it's going to go one way, but Dan, can you persuade the viewers why it's going to go the other way?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm really looking forward to it. I am genuinely really looking forward to it because we have played so well over the past few weeks with a depleted squad. And yes, I know I go on about the fact that half our squad's furloughed all the time, but it's a massive achievement to be able to play teams like Sutton, Notts County. It's so good to play those kind of teams and either draw or only lose by 1 or 2 goals. Hartlepool, I think it's a weird one because Hartlepool haven't looked very good recently with a couple draws, and I think they lost as well to Eastleigh a couple of weeks back. I think we can nick a point. I think we can even possibly, and I'm going to say this very, very, I can't tell you the word, but I think we can nick a win. And Kel's probably laughing behind his muted microphone right now, but I genuinely think we could nick a win off Hartlepool. Obviously, it's 7 o'clock kickoff time, and if you haven't got a game to watch, I would recommend buying our stream. It's 12 quid. Yes, it's expensive, but I'd recommend buying the stream because it'll be a very good game. And I'm now going to pass you over to Kel, who's probably going to throw all kinds of expletives at me for me thinking that we have a chance of beating Hartlepool. Kel?
Not at all. I think it's going to be a hard match. I think it's going to be because I've been hearing that Kingsland have been playing well the last couple of games, so I think it's going to be a hard match. We haven't won 2 matches. The last 2 matches we've been counting 10 men, so I'm hoping that we don't make it 3 games in a row that we go down 10 men, that we keep our discipline, and yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game. Like I want us ready to win. And I am confident that we can be able to get the 3 points, but I believe that Kingsland are a team that could really surprise us. So I hope that we don't give them too much respect and just sit behind the ball. We just go as guns blazing at them, and hopefully get 3 points, which we need at the moment because we're slowly but surely going further and further away from Sutton. And then we're looking back at people who also have games in hand, like Notts County and Torquay. So we really need 3 points, which hopefully we'll be able to get. But we do have, I do have respect for Kingsland. I think they have been playing well. I think it'll be a very difficult match. So again, if I've got a game to watch, even though it is £12, I would recommend giving it a watch.
Yeah, Stephen Cleve put the check in the post. Yeah, we're doing you a favour here with these extra stream sales. Anyway, before we move on to Ben, actually, we have to talk about the decision by Barnet. I mean, on paper, it looks a pretty easy decision. 1 win in 13 games for Barnet to sack Tim Flowers, and already they've got a point in their first game without him. So, just to sum it up, do we all think it was the right decision?
Yeah, 110%. Yeah, they got rid of Beadle, and I think they made a brilliant decision in getting rid of Flowers. I think Barnet just have to see the season as a write-off now. Go out for all they care. There's no relegation. Lose every game for all they care. Go, or at least win a couple towards the end. Go back next season, not reform the club in that way, but reform it as in get new players and etc. And then just see if they can do anything next season. But this season's Barnet squad, in my opinion, probably has to be one of the worst in National League history.
I mean, you're not wrong there. So Ben, Stockport play at home to Barnet on Tuesday. Are you worried potentially about a new manager bounce for Barnet, even though they potentially have one of the worst squads in history? Or do you think it should be an easy 3 points for Simon Ruskman?
Well, on paper, realistically, it should be an easy 3 points, but it also worries me them sacking the manager and that certain curse that seems to occur when teams sack the manager and then they beat the next team they play. But I think with the quality we have, and hopefully with this incoming signing on Tuesday with from Fleetwood's Paddy Madden, which has been rumoured heavily, and say if he starts, he's got a great record for League One. So surely he should be dominating the National League. I think we definitely should be winning.
So another managerial sacking, and both of them happened on the same day, funnily enough. A early taxi for Jimmy Shan at Solihull Moors after a 5-0 drubbing by Stockport. I think we have to say, with Solihull languishing in 17th with potentially one of the biggest budgets in the league, this surely is the right decision. Do we all think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely right. Like you said, with the budget they've got, for them to be in 17th, it's massively underachieving, and they definitely should be looking to do better. And I think, the performance on Tuesday at Stockport, the 5-0 drubbing, I think it was curtain to him after that. They've obviously brought in Mark Yates, who was with them previously. I believe he was at Stourbridge earlier this season, so remains to be seen how he does. I believe he's only on like a short-term contract, so yeah, I think the goal just for Solihull now just to gain some more respectability back into their season and try and get into the top half, because I think definitely playoffs are out of sight now for them because their performance just gone to pot. So yeah, if Mark Yates can do a decent job of them, who knows? Maybe he'll get the job permanently. But yeah, for now they just want to be looking at getting some more respectability back. I'll hand you over to Dan.
Yeah, point blank decision really. Probably one of the easiest decisions I've seen this season. They've just not looked good. They've looked inconsistent, and no offense to Ben here, but to go to Stockport and be 4-0 down in the first half, to go to any team and be 4-0 down in the first half, the owner might as well have been writing up their P45 right there and then, because they're inconsistent. They should be in the top half. They should be in the playoff places. They should be challenging for the top 3. Yet they're languishing down in 17th place with teams like Wealdstone, Woking, no offense, Will, and other crap. Realistically, yeah, poor crap teams down there. So it was his time to go, and I hope this Mark Yates lad does well for them. Well, I say lad, he's older than me. Does well for them. Yeah, he did come from Stourbridge, Josh, and yeah, don't see why the future's not bright for them. Ben?
Well, from my experience as a Sporting County, every time we've played Solihull, it's not been good. We've always been beat. So every time we play Solihull, I'm always nervous. But literally from the start of the game, they were so poor. Like they play out from the back, and every time they were messing it up and passing it straight to our player, and that's what John Rooney's second goal was from. Ryan Boot passing it out straight to our player, and they just look really poor. And it's definitely the right decision.
Well, you've all summed it up there, but to be honest, Dan, apart from the unnecessary Woking slander, I have to agree with you about the Solihull. I think I predicted them second or third, and to be honest, for them to be languishing in 17th it's one of those on the predictions where you don't say I've had a howler, you say they've had a howler, because let's be honest, they've got Adam Rooney, who is probably the best striker in the league in terms of experience, in terms of playing Europa League football for Aberdeen, in terms of scoring goals for Salford. And for them to be down there.
I mean,
yeah, go on.
It's ridiculous. And just moving on from what you said about a howler, I'd personally say they've had an Archie because of Archie Mayer, but that's not funny. You continue.
Well, what I would say as well is, throughout the season, I've been looking at Solihull and I've been like, yeah, they have games in hand. They'll come back. Yeah, they have games in hand. And you look at the table now, and they have 0 games in hand. In fact, yeah, they're level on games with Sutton. They have barely any games in hand on anyone. And they haven't won since the 16th of February. And before that, their last win before that came against Dover on the 23rd of Jan. So, yeah, I mean, the writing's been on the wall for him for a while, Jimmy Shan. And it was an experiment that's failed. And anyway, enough of my waffling, and let's move on to Woking versus Altrincham, because it's a very, very big game in the mid-table clash, if you like, where literally neither team has got anything to play for. And I personally think we have to win this game, whether it's not just because Altrincham are part-time as well, but also because we need revenge, because I really, really did not like our 1-0 defeat to Altrincham. I really did not like the stream. I did not like the commentators. So we really need to get revenge, and we need to score a couple of goals, because we scored 1 in the last 2 games, and obviously before that we scored 3 past Kings Lynn. But as Dan knows, Kings Lynn's defence is not the most watertight. So I reckon.
I thought you were going to mention those then.
No, I wouldn't dare do that. I mean, yeah. So I reckon we should win this 2-1 or something like that. But anyway, in terms of other games in the National League on Tuesday night, there are a few tasty ones. Anyone want to take us through those?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll chat about Wrexham against Eastleigh. 2 teams obviously going for playoffs. Like I mentioned earlier, Wrexham currently sitting 4th. Eastleigh are just outside, a point behind Halifax, occupying the last spot. So I think it's a big game. If Eastleigh need to be looking at winning this, I think for sure, if they want to be getting into the playoffs, because there's a lot of teams behind them in that pack, like Bromley, Bournemouth, and Yeovil, who are only a point behind them. They could easily make up ground on them and overtake them if they drop points. So Eastleigh must be looking at winning that game if they want to be getting into the playoffs, like I said. Halifax against Aldershot. Again, Aldershot, another team who are breathing down the necks of the playoffs, and massive game. Aldershot, I'm not sure of Aldershot's goal difference, but I'm not sure if they can potentially overtake Halifax or not, but they can definitely close the gap and make up ground as well. So I'll pass you on to if anyone else wants to mention a game that I've not talked about, then I'll
clean up the rest of the games. So there's another big game in terms of Chesterfield at home to Sutton. Chesterfield desperate to bounce back from a 2-0 defeat at Maidenhead at the Technique Stadium, and they will have to show some technique to beat a Sutton side. Yeah, you see what I did there. They'll have to beat the Sutton side if they want any chance of playoffs, because the race at the moment is anyone puts 3 wins together, they're up there. Eastleigh put 3 wins together, they're up there, and Chesterfield need to do that. They need to get back on track, because James Rose made a brilliant start as manager, but it could all go to waste if they do not keep up this form. So in terms of other games, we've got Bournemouth at home to Notts County and Maidenhead at home to Torquay. 2 games, 2 tough away grounds to go to. I know, because I've been to both. I've been to both when it's cold and wet and it's disgusting. And Notts County going to Bournemouth is a tough one, because you feel like they have to win to stand any chance of catching Sutton. And Bournemouth are a team who have drawn 2 games 0-0 in a week, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind drawing 0-0 at home to Notts County, if we're honest. And then the big ones, in terms of, well, it would have been a big one, but Torquay are falling down the table, and Maidenhead will be buoyed of confidence after a great win against Chesterfield. And you have to say, Maidenhead is a tough place to go, and Torquay are on a tough run with no results. So you'd have to say there, you'd have to back Maidenhead. Anyway, moving on to Saturday's games. So we will start off with Dan, because Torquay are playing Kings Lynn Town. The fixtures do not get any easier for Kings Lynn Town, do they?
Well, I'd like to think Torquay would be an easier game than Hartlepool and Sutton have been. Obviously, Torquay, they haven't really done much lately. Kings Lynn, we can win matches. We've proven that. I think, once again, I'm just always confident about this club at the moment, because we're looking good. I'd be happy with a point. 3 points possible. Maybe, maybe not. It depends how Torquay play. But yeah, it's away from home. I don't know what Torquay's home record's like at the moment. It's a case of we'll have to see at 4:45 on Saturday evening what happens. There's nothing else we can say apart from that.
So, Ben, Stockport away at Sutton United. It is the toughest fixture you can get at the moment. I'd assume Stockport come in with some confidence, considering they've had an excellent result away at Solihull. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think this is going to be the game that determines both teams' seasons, because I think if Sutton come away with a win, then I think Sutton are probably going to go on to win the league. But I reckon if we come away with the win, then I think we open up the gap for other teams and ourselves to challenge for the title, and I think Sutton will probably drop off. But it's definitely going to be probably one of the toughest games of the season. And I sort of want to get revenge because of what happened when we played them at Edgeley Park. They got a freak goal when our defender passed it back and the keeper let him under his foot. And then Liam Hogan got sent off, which he got the ball cleanly, and they got a penalty. And it was just, I definitely think we need to get revenge.
And then in terms of another crunch match across the non-league podcast, it is Hartlepool at home to Woking. And in terms of Kel's thoughts, it's got to be 3 points for Hartlepool. So Kel, take it away as to why little old part-time Woking are going to get a battering on Saturday.
I'll be confident against Woking because of the fact that we're home, and also the fact that Woking have basically both eyes on the FA Trophy game, which they have, the massive game for them, and they're not really playing for much this season. But that doesn't mean for a second that we just think we just can just turn up to our place and expect 3 points, because that's not going to happen, because Woking are going to be a team which are going to try and hit us on the counter, I think. So we've got to be at our best to make sure that we get the 3 points, which, again, like Kingsland on Tuesday, it's a game which we will be the favourites for because of the league table. But anything can happen in this league. Any team can beat any team. And the last time we played Woking at their ground, when there was fans at Woking, we got absolutely smashed 3-0, which was kicking up the arse for us for this season, which realistically changed our season, to be fair. So I'm kind of thanking Woking, but I'm pretty confident that we will get the 3 points. And yeah, your thoughts on it, Will?
Well, I was going to mention the 3-0 game because, it is one of the highlights of our season, but I think Hartlepool are much changed, despite having the same team to that game. I've seen them a couple of times on BT Sport, and I just don't get that Saturday game when we had fans in it. It just looked like Hartlepool couldn't be bothered. Sort of turned us to the ground, got whipped 3-0. Should have been more. Picked up the coach on the way home, and and then since then they've been completely different side. And our away form is not very good. We have not beaten anyone outside of the bottom three away from home, which is disappointing, but not surprising considering, we can't finish away from home, and you usually get 1 or 2 chances to score goals away from home, and we don't take our chances. Well, we used to not create chances, but we're past that phase now. But in terms of, I'd be happy with anything from this game, to be honest. That's the mindset we've got to go in with. It's just an exercise for the Hereford semi-final. And I have to say, Hartlepool, in terms of Dave Challoner, he has never beaten us. We've played, I think it's 4 games now against Dave Challoner, and we've beaten his sides every time. So it is up to us to make it extend that run. Anyway, enough of me waffling. Josh, what are your thoughts on the Saturday games?
Yeah, I'm going to pick out Eastleigh against Halifax. This is massive for the playoff push. At the moment, it's 7 against 8, but if the game's on Tuesday, could change that. It could see more teams come up. But yeah, it's going to be a massive game either way. Both teams will fully believe they can get into the playoffs, and a win for either side will definitely boost the chances of them. Both Halifax, like I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if they could sneak in. But Eastleigh as well, they're a pretty decent side at home, so you never know what could happen. Obviously, they've got ex-Hampton player Ryan Hill as well, who I know he's done really well there. So I hope he does well for them as well, like I know he has been. So yeah, like I mentioned, massive game for both sides in terms of the playoff mix. Any other games anyone wants to mention?
Yeah, just before we wrap it up, Notts County at home to Yeovil, which is a must-win game for Notts County. Every game at the moment is a must-win game for Notts County if they want to keep up with Sutton United. And Yeovil are a very good side, as I saw on Saturday. Didn't play too well yet, still beat us. And their home form is excellent. Their away form, not so much. But I think Notts County this week will be a decider in whether Neil Ardley does get the sack, because it will show whether they're going for automatics or whether they're settling for playoffs. Anything anyone else wants to add before we wrap this up? So this has been the Non-League Podcast, and I have been Will, your host. We will see you next week for some preview of the big tournament in England, the FA Trophy, and the review of Tuesday and Saturday's games, in which Dan Noakes will explain why Kings Lynn lost 5-0 to Hartlepool but still played well. But apart from that, goodbye.
William.